Hey, what's up everybody? BDL 44 coming at you in another video. Alright, so KD has said what it is that I thought he wouldn't say. He said we are not retiring anytime soon. He said, I know y'all believe unnamed sources over me, but I am not retiring. So we gonna let that be the truth and keep it strong. So yes, that video that I said earlier about him retiring, he came out and he said it just now. He doesn't plan on it. He does not plan on it. So if you want to double down and try to pick apart words, we can pick apart words that says he doesn't plan it, but doesn't mean he won't. Plans could change. Yes, you can do that. But he made it very, very clear that retirement is not something that he's doing now. So period, end of story. That should make the Nets feel a lot better. Let's just make that very clear. If I'm Joe Tsai, I'm like, okay, that's good. If I'm Sean Marks, I'm like, Jesus Christ. That's exactly what I'm doing if I'm Sean Marks. Now, there's two ways of looking at that as I continue to think. If I'm Sean Marks, a part of me probably thinks, you know what, it would just be best if I'm not forced to make the trade at all. So if he holds out and I'm never forced to make a trade, or if for some reason this comes about, we can get back together and be cool, that's the best case scenario for Sean Marks. Because once you make a trade for KD, then it's about the type of return you get. And I don't know what type of return he's going to get with everything that's going on right now. So if no trade is made, that's what's best for Sean Marks. So this is interesting though. I think KD is in a space where, you know, if he's not going to be retiring, then his leverage is limited, I think, in regards to this. And I'm not saying that retirement is like either you go back and play for the Nets or you retire. I'm not necessarily saying those are the only two paths. But what I am saying is that's your trump card is retirement. That's your trump card. That's what you could say. Would anybody try some anything that you don't like if you're Kevin Durant? You could say, well, my talent will be removed from your circumstance and from this league, and I'll return if I decide to. But as of right now, it's indefinite. I'm gone. And so that's his leverage. As long as he's willing to play basketball, there's going to be some things they can hold over his head. That's it. I'm encouraged that KD spoke, though. I am very encouraged he spoke, because I don't want him to retire, man. You know, I like, that's why my tone was so bad in the video that I made in regards to him retiring, or potentially people talking about him retiring, which is false. It's because I don't want that dude to retire. You know what I'm saying? Like, literally. It's not just because I'm selfish and want to see him play necessarily, though it is part of that. But the other part of that is he's got a real chance to fix his legacy. Never mind the years behind him. I think his game can age well. And I know I'm the same guy that talks about the Achilles injury all the time, but until he proves that my concerns are valid, they aren't. And I'm man enough to say that. I just have concerns about the Achilles that otherwise he hasn't made me feel good about those concerns being valid, I guess is what you say. He's playing great. So, all right, put that aside. I think he can play for a million years if his body holds up. You understand what I mean? Like, he could play for a long time, just like I think Kyrie could play for a long time. A lot of these guys are not predicated on athleticism or jumping out the gym and none of that. KD is a fundamental genius and has the shooting ability that rivals the best there ever was. So when you have those two things going for you, you don't necessarily need to be stronger than everybody else all the time, or, you know, have to adjust so much to father time as it hits, especially on the offensive end, where he's always going to be able to hit his jumper. He's always going to be able to make free throws at a Hall of Fame level, therefore making him very efficient no matter what. Arguably the most efficient player in the sport. So you take all of that into account, you just don't want him to walk away under bad pretenses just because something went wrong in the moment that he's in. That's just a moment. That's where we're at. We're right now in one moment. Why should that cost us him? I don't want that. And I want to say something else. I can live in a world, and it's another thing, I can live in a world where Victor Wembanyama is somebody that I can't wait to see, and Kevin Durant is somebody I don't need to push out the league. I can live in those two worlds at the same time, and I think that needs to be said, because right now superstars like Kevin Durant have officially reached a space where they're underappreciated and underrated because of the presence of the youth being so important. But youth is unproven. And until older proves it's too old, it's still in its prime. Right? So while I'm a guy who's 38 years of age on Friday, I think without the presence of this hairline, I look probably about 10 years younger than that on most days. And I feel 10 years younger than that on most days. So maybe because of what we understand about how to take care of the body, maybe because of what we understand about nutrition, maybe because of how long we've been having good habits, eating and things of that nature, exercise, if you've been taking care of yourself as long as we've been knowledgeable of how to do so at this level, then maybe it stands to reason that we've extended the possibility of the average player, especially playing at a certain level like KD or Kyrie or LeBron, can extend their careers past what is expected at a certain type of level. Maybe LeBron James isn't just an anomaly. Maybe he's the beginning of something. Who's to say that Kevin Durant doesn't extend his career for another 7 or 8 years? I don't know that his numbers are going to fall off if he's just continuing to shoot jumpers and pacing himself. I don't know that he can't continue to play based on his fundamental genius, as I've already spoken. So him walking away from the game is a disservice to us all. And I'm glad it's not happening. And I hope that the NBA can come around to making sure that the next 2 years is not wrapped up in negotiations so that we don't waste prime KD and anybody else that's going to be on the tail end. Because I do think that this collective bargaining negotiation situation could potentially set us back a great deal. So that's why I kind of wanted KD to do what he's doing now and just kind of release the pressure ever so slightly by making a statement such as this, to take a retirement off the table, if nothing else. So we can get back to the process of trying to keep him in the league, meaning trading him to a place, or, you know, if Josiah is going to try to hold him, keeping him in place and trying to force him to play basketball, whatever the case may be, keep it within the lines of the NBA. Once he crosses over into retirement, now we've failed. All of us. Everybody's failed. And so that's how I look at the situation. It's truly how I look at it. Glad he made that decision. And maybe that speaks to people's hypothesis of what they think he's about, which is someone who's not going to hold out after all, someone who's only bluffing all the way to the point where it's time to play, and then when it's time to play basketball, he's just going to shoot up and play like he always has. I just don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know. I think all I can go by is the behavior that I've seen and different stances that I've seen, and that's all I can really kind of go by. But I didn't believe retirement was off the table until he said it. Honestly, I didn't. Based on how far I thought Josiah and those guys may be willing to take it, to get what they want, or to punish his side of things, or whatever. I don't know how this works, but retirement's off the table. Love the sound of that. So now I guess we start to speculate what happens if retirement is in fact off the table, you know. And as I said, I think some leverage comes off the table, but look, plan, as I said earlier, that's the key word. And so just leave it at that. I don't think that the Nets will be able to effectively keep him in an unhappy situation. Okay, that's what I do. That's what I will say. I don't think they'll be able to keep him in an unhappy situation. Now, if they can make their situation happy, then it ain't no, you know, maybe that can be great. God, I don't know what to think of the Kyrie aspect of things, because what's being reported is that he and Kyrie are on the same page, and I definitely believe that to make sense based on everything we're seeing. We've already talked about that at length. But does them being on the same page in friendship mean that KD views Kyrie being on the team right now as the move that the team should be going in with him? And that's a very loaded statement, because it can imply a trillion different things if I don't zero in on exactly what I'm talking about. I mean, if Kevin Durant believes that the Brooklyn Nets' best path forward is to move on from Kyrie, which doesn't mean that he doesn't ever want to play with Kyrie again. It doesn't mean he's not friends with Kyrie. It doesn't mean any of that. It just means that the Kyrie Irving saga in Brooklyn essentially looks over, independent of Kevin Durant's circumstances. So if he's going forward with the Brooklyn Nets, and it looks as if the Brooklyn Nets, and I'm saying if he's going forward with the understanding that he's absolutely not going forward, but if you're just going to look at that aspect of it and try to pay attention to it, I'm getting to my point. If he's saying, all right, I'm willing to go with you guys, if we get back to the drawing board and say, forget it, I want to go to the Brooklyn Nets, does he want Kyrie on the team or not? Does it, in his mind, are they making the best decision for the team by keeping him at $36 million for one season this year? Or do they need to complete the deal sending him to Los Angeles to satisfy what he believes the Brooklyn Nets should be doing? That's the question I have. All right, because there's a million different ways to look at the same exact thing. If I'm Kyrie's friend, SKD, I'm looking at this and I'm saying, I want Kyrie to get to a situation that he's happy with. If that situation isn't here, it appears to me, BDF, and it appears it's LA. So I want my boy to get to LA, right? That's me, KD, his friend. Me, KD, the basketball player, who's trying to figure out if he wants to stay in Brooklyn or leave and go somewhere else, may be thinking along the lines of the Brooklyn Nets' plan right now is to move Kyrie Irving and from there get some pieces in place to do some other things. If I'm going to be a part of the Brooklyn Nets, I understand that that's their plan. They haven't completed their plan. How do I view that at this point? Their plan isn't complete. I'm supposed to be starting the year with them, and they haven't made the moves necessary to make us the team that they're envisioning for this year. You see what I'm trying to express? It's like, you ain't finished, Brooklyn. So you want me to be online with you, but the vision that you have for your squad ain't done. So I wonder if KD is waiting for them to trade Kyrie so that he can take a look at what Brooklyn has put together, right? And then say whether or not he would be willing to be a part of it. And that only makes sense in the event that he would even consider going back to Brooklyn, which doesn't actually have any tea leaf showing us that. But for those who believe that him saying that he's not retiring automatically means that he's ready to go into a situation where Josiah is going to ultimately try to force him to play in Brooklyn, because that's a logical assumption that could be what's next. If I'm to assume KD knows that or sees it that way, then you have to be ready for people to assume you saying you're not retiring means that you're ready to step into that arena. And so from that space, I am asking, does he look at the Kyrie trade not being done yet as something that's a positive or a negative? That's exactly what I'm trying to say. That zeroes the point into its exact space. As to which he can still be very much friends with Kyrie, but Kyrie needs to get to LA because that's where Kyrie's at. Needs to be, right? If I'm watching this as somebody who's waiting for the Brooklyn Nets to complete their plan. Also, if I'm going back there and I'm KD, I do understand that even though Kyrie's my guy, that's my guy, the presence of Kyrie being in that arena, in that space, isn't great because of everything that's going on. So maybe because of that, I also am saying, I'm not going back into that Brooklyn situation until they purge everything that they need to get out of their situation as the Brooklyn Nets. Sans the understanding that this is actually my friend that we're talking about. But it's not about that, because we're looking at the Brooklyn Nets as a team that needs to fix their problems, and that situation is a problem they need to fix from their perspective. So it's like, all right, have you fixed your issue? Have you gotten everything done that you're going to do? Or is KD from that position saying the opposite? You bet not trade my guy. It's the only reason why I would even consider coming back into this room. And as a matter of fact, I still want what I want, which is you to give him his money. I'm wondering if that's the space he's going to be in upon making this statement about not retiring. Because of the declaration of not retiring ultimately removes some leverage from him. And I don't know that it wasn't necessary for him to do that. In fact, I definitely wanted to do that. I told him I wanted to do that in this camera. But now that it's been done, there are things that come with that. All right. So that's where my mind goes now. It's like a shift to the, okay, there's 100 different scenarios that come with making a declaration that you're not retiring. Now it's time to face those. So that's what it is. You know, because as long as he would have kept quiet in regards to that, yes, I'd have been, you know, BDF sad. I don't want him to retire. But I also understood that that kept him in the driver's seat. You know what I'm saying? Him not satisfying what I want him to do in regards to retirement means that, or speaking on his potential retirement or not retirement, puts him in a position to where he's not in a space to demand all that he could potentially have demanded before this moment. So giving back all that power means that he's ready to play ball. And so we speak in circles to say, what does that mean for Kyrie Irving? And I'm a Laker fan, so I'm always coming at this from a Kyrie Irving perspective because I want them to ship him to us. Ship him to us. We're going to give you the 2 picks. Take the initial price that you know should be fair value, if not for this wacky market. And let's get this play done. Get this move done. And then you can go back to the drawing board without Kyrie, with what you return for Kyrie, and say to KD, we have the path to flexibility over the next several years. Can you give us a year with what we have? Answer, of course, is no. And then you trade him where he's going. Now, if I'm Brooklyn, I'm also looking at this situation. I'm saying the monkey wrench in this situation for my team, and we've gone over this a couple times, is the presence of Ben Simmons, because I can't make a move with the Heat, who would be eager to make a move involving Bam Adebayo, in my opinion, for KD, if not for the presence of this monkey wrench that doesn't allow for that to happen. That monkey wrench name is Ben Simmons. Yes, do I love the things that Ben Simmons brings to the table? Absolutely. Do I want Ben Simmons on my team if I'm Brooklyn? I do. I actually do. I like him there. Always have. Thing is, if having him means having this problem because I can't get rid of the problem because he's here, it's probably best for me to move him so that I can open up the doors for me to get this problem solved. Right? The problem with that is it's the price tag on Ben Simmons because everybody knows that. That's the problem. And because he has that contract, you're limited to where you can send him as well. Because other teams have that problem because they have other players with his contract. So you see, you run into the same issues. You have limited places you can send him to. And then the price tag on him is going to be extra low because of all of these things, plus what we know from him last time. So when you get into this space where you understand fully, beyond the shadow of a doubt, that moving Ben Simmons is going to mean that you're going to give him up for pennies on the dollar, then you go back to the square one and understanding that's probably not the move either. You know what I mean? So these are the type of monkey wrenches that Sean Marks run into. It's simply put, if it were as simple as trading Ben Simmons, I think they may have actually already have done it, to be honest with you. But the point of me bringing this up was to say, if there's a way to get Ben Simmons out of there, it could be the answer to a lot of these problems. Because like I said, I think your KD situation gets solved immediately once you free up the ability for him to bring in Ben, for them to bring in Bam Adebayo from Miami. Once you get Ben gone, I don't think it would be 5 good minutes before Pat Riley would be on the phone with packages involving Bam Adebayo. It wouldn't take 5 minutes. So how much do we love Ben Simmons? How much would we be willing to get rid of him? How much does it cost to make all of this happen versus how much it would cost to relinquish Ben Simmons and make a trade happen? That's what you got to weigh. Is it more expensive to keep Ben plus having this problem that you can't get rid of because of Ben? Or do you relinquish your plans for Ben going forward, which you really value, for the presence of being able to get rid of this problem that you can't get rid of? So yeah, I don't know. It depends on my plans for Ben Simmons, to be completely honest with you. Depends on my plans for Ben Simmons. Because if I truly believe him as a player that I can build around, then there's no reason to consider moving him at all. But then you go back to the drawing board and realize you still got to try to move KD. How do we do that? Can't do that. There's Ben Simmons again. And then you find yourself in a big old circle of trying to, you understand what I'm saying? So I don't know if Sean Marks is in that space or not. Probably past that phase about a week and a half ago. But I'm pretty sure he was in that tunnel trying to figure out how the hell to make this happen, and if letting go of Ben Simmons is the easier path to happiness for the Brooklyn Nets. And so that's why I'm calling for the Brooklyn Nets to blow it all up, because I do think it's the easiest thing to do. It's just completely and utterly honestly, it's the easiest thing to do. Now, maybe in doing so, you don't necessarily let go of Ben Simmons. You just keep him part of it. But Kai and KD and some of these pieces that they picked up in this offseason, yeah, they would be trade deadline candidates, all of them. And so on and so forth. So, yeah, man, I've talked about the Brooklyn Nets more than I've talked about my Lakers. You guys know that, but everything directly affects us. So I ain't far away from the Lakers when I'm talking about the Nets at any given second. But, you know, it just goes to show that when it's all said and done, players are left between a rock and a hard place. They want to stand on what they want to believe in. They want to get paid for what it is that they do. They want to do it to the level they want to do it at. They want to be able to stay healthy and get the most money. All of that, unfortunately, it's just not set up for them to be able to seamlessly receive it. They have to give up something in that. And so that's, I think, is what guys are running into. Giannis said something I thought was interesting. I don't want to make a whole video about this, honestly, so I'll just attach a little bit to it because I don't have a lot to say about it. But Giannis was talking to city of Chicago. I'm not really sure the setting. I don't know, but it was like a press conference of some sort where he was asked questions about coming to the Chicago Bulls and left the door open. Left the door open for moving on from Milwaukee possibly someday and maybe joining the Bulls down the road. And that's not like Giannis. That is not like him. He doesn't even look in other directions. You know, people talking about the Lakers. He laughed that off, signed his contract so fast and went off and won a championship, never looked back. So everybody probably assumes he's a lifer in Milwaukee. But, of course, with everything that's going on with Kevin Durant, I think Giannis is looking and saying, I got to keep my foot on these guys' throats to make sure they know that keeping a championship caliber team around me should be the only thing they're thinking about. At any moment they feel like they're going to pull something that I don't like, that leverage that I could always leave needs to be present. Because I think they got comfortable once I re-signed so quickly and shunned off everybody else. And maybe, just maybe, they think it's okay to let their foot off the gas and kind of save themselves a little money in luxury tax or anything, whatever they may be thinking. I don't know if he was pleased with all the moves they made this offseason, but I know that their bench could be better. Now, bringing back Bobby Portis at that price I thought was one of the best signings of the year. Easily. Probably the second best signing of the offseason. But I don't think they did enough to bring more role players to that team to make them a fuller basketball squad. They're still too reliant upon Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton to stay healthy in order to be a championship caliber squad. That's a good problem to have. Those are fantastic players. Still got a lot left. They probably have a chance to get another one. But do I got them as the favorites to winning in the Eastern Conference at this point? Nah, I don't. I do not. There are a couple teams, and I think they're amongst those teams, and if they come out as the team in the East, I'm not going to sit up here and be shocked to hell. No, I'm not going to be very shocked, but they are amongst five or six other teams in the Eastern Conference I think are very capable of getting out of it, and I don't have them number one at all. I do not. So I think that Giannis is looking at this situation and probably saying the exact same thing. Can I win the championship this year? Maybe. I got an okay shot, but not the best shot. Not a Giannis Antetokounmpo shot. Do you understand what I'm saying? Not the type of shoe-in, I'm the number one team in the Eastern Conference and I'm getting to the finals and whoever's going to get past me needs to beat me. Good. He ain't that. That's not the Bucks they're going to be this year. And I think he doesn't feel too good about that. I don't think he looks at himself as a one championship guy. At all. Not at all. Not when you got the type of athleticism and skill set that he's developing. Nah, you're not cool with one championship when you know what you're capable of. So it's up to the Bucks to keep themselves intent on making him the best team possible. Making his team the best team possible. You know, and anything less than that I think is a mistake. Any cutting of cost or sparing of, you know, expenses is a mistake. When you got Giannis, you should be going all in at all times. So that's what he was doing. He was making sure that the city of Milwaukee, or rather the Milwaukee front office and ownership, understand that his leverage still stands very strong in this league, despite having loyalty to their franchise. And I don't know that any of that takes place if not the presence of the Kevin Durant situation and all that's going on in Brooklyn. Because as I said to you guys before in a video, maybe yesterday or the day before, I think that Kevin Durant is directly reacting to what I think he feels is him not getting the respect he deserves as an MVP caliber superstar talent. I think that he expects to receive the type of love that Giannis is getting, that Steph is getting, that Bron has gotten, etc., etc. And right now, even though a lot of people have broken down all the things that the Nets have been willing to do for KD, at some point in time, they stopped being willing to do those things. And in those other situations, those organizations did not. They are still saying yes to players of Kevin Durant's caliber or lesser caliber, which is very important in this conversation, because if he sees a guy he's better than getting love that he's not getting from his organization, and his organization's doing worse than the team who's giving all that love to that superstar, where's the reason for him to want to stay in that situation? Just because a pundit like myself can read off all the things that they did for Kevin Durant don't mean that he can't point out 2 things that he didn't like and that betrayed the very nature of what it is that we're talking about. His natural born leverage as a superstar of that caliber. So he can point a couple things out, and because of it, they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing as harborers of a superstar, so to speak. So that's what it really comes down to, man. I think Giannis is looking at that and saying, nah, we ain't going. I'm not even letting my organization go down the path of thinking they can let me feel as the way KD's feeling right now. Whatever path that got him to feeling like that, y'all better not even try to take me down that path, or I will take you down a worse one. That's essentially what Giannis is taking. That's what I took from what he said. And so, yeah, man, KD is shaking up the market. He's making everybody react. Everybody is reacting, man. That's what's happening here. People are reacting. You know, Giannis ain't gonna say none of that stuff if this ain't going on. I promise he doesn't. Oh, no, 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 no. Because he's not the type of dude, from what I've seen, that flirts with any team. So he don't care about none of us. He's about Milwaukee. But if Milwaukee starts going backwards in their progression or their production, or if they start making bad decisions, you might see him put on a red. You might see him do it. Because I'll tell you right now, I don't think Giannis is the type of guy who's going to want to go too far away from where he's been. And obviously Milwaukee's very close to Chicago. It's a hop skip. I could totally see him doing something like that if he does leave Milwaukee. He ain't going to go to the Lakers. He ain't going to go to the Knicks. He's going to go right next door to a place where the fans that he's been seeing him could drive and see him just the same. So I definitely think it's very reasonable that he consider going to the Bulls or Pacers or Cavaliers or something like that very close by. Remember what I said about that. Detroit. He ain't going to go too far if he does leave. Anyway, that's what I got to say about the situation. And, of course, I'm happy Kevin Durant is not retiring. That's what I got to say, man. My name is BDL44. Thank you all for watching. I'm out.